Today, we're in the company of a phenomenal success story. Dean Graziosi is a multimillionaire.
Your ability and desire to influence so many people in such unanimously positive ways is truly inspiring.
You don't have a heart-centered reason on why the hell you want it. It's why everybody gives up on the 5-yard line.
It's entrepreneurs like Dean that are helping make the world a better place.
He is a source of just incredible information.
1 million books sold total.
Living legend.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in sales.
His takeaways have been inspiring so many people.
It's reaching millions of people online.
The biggest names in the history of this segment.
When I first met Dean, I just got to know his heart and his soul. It's like, felt like my brother.
I did so many lives.
Sometimes it takes someone seeing in you what you don't even see in yourself. The man changed my life.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you so much, Dean.
I really do appreciate him.
Give it up for my partners, your friend, Dean Graziosi, everybody. Give it up for him.
So for people that don't know who Dean is, tell us, who is Dean Graziosi?
So, instead of just telling my story, I think it's easier to resonate with everybody who's watching. If you're here today listening or watching, listening to these guys, then we definitely have something in common. You're meant for more. You have a craving, you have a desire to live into your full potential, to make more money, to give more away, to be a better version of yourself, or else you wouldn't be listening to a podcast like this, right? Mm-hmm. And so the part where I'd like to start is, that's my story. I remember my parents split when I was little, 3 years old, 4 years old. And I just remember watching my mom work 2 jobs, 3 jobs to make nothing, come home 9, 10 o'clock at night after cleaning houses and cleaning hair salons and painting houses. And I don't know if I was 7, 8, 10, but I remember thinking, I need to be wealthy to take care of my mom. Like the thought was probably to retire her, to stop working so hard so she could be home. And what in retrospect of looking back, and this is the part I want to give you without having to go through my whole story. I'm beyond blessed for the success I've had. But what I realized looking back, and this is the part you should write down, the why is more important than the how. I gotta say that again. The why is more important than the how, because the how, you can find capabilities. We're going to talk more about modeling proven practices and modeling other people as long as you're in a business that's growing. Most of you are in real estate, thinking about real estate. Real estate will always be here. AI can't take away houses, right? The business Tony and I are in, we own mastermind.com. We teach people how to take their life experience and turn it into a product. It's going to be here forever. So as long as you're in an industry that's growing and you can model someone who's already done it, the next and most important thing is why you want to do it, because you're going to get kicked in the teeth. You're going to fail. People are going to tell you you're crazy, that you're a dreamer. Your first deal is going to go bad. Not to be, so pleasant here in the podcast, but things are going to go wrong. Problems are going to be bigger. If you want bigger solutions, if you want bigger money, bigger income, you're going to have problems. So if things are going to go wrong, you're going to question yourself. The things in the invisible are going to scare you. Then what is the thing that drives you through it? Is having a bigger purpose, having a purpose bigger than your fears, have a purpose bigger than the economy, have a purpose bigger than tariffs, or purpose bigger than the interest rates going up. You need a purpose so big that nothing gets in your way. And I didn't realize that till I look back, that when I first started, my main goal was to retire my mom. And what would I have done to retire my mom? Anything. I would have crawled across broken glass to watch this amazing woman come home at 9 o'clock at night, tired with her hands hurting. I just remember thinking she was so selfless. She never complained, never said a word. But I did everything in my power. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I retired my mom. Wow. But what I learned by then was that why was so powerful that nothing stopped the kid who lived in a trailer park, who didn't have lunch money some days, who didn't go to college, who had dyslexia. I'm a C student at best. How the heck did I make it? Well, it was real estate and cars. But it wasn't that. It was because I needed to do it. I had to do it. And that why created a hunger that was unstoppable. And when I realized that, then once I retired my mom, I didn't want to be like, well, c'est la vie, things are good now. I had to find a new purpose just as big as that one. And through the decades, I just found another purpose and found another purpose. At this phase of my life, you shared earlier, I'm partners with Tony Robbins, my dearest friend in the world. Man, that guy is hell-bent on impacting the world. Like if you knew where he's at right now, he's over 1 billion meals he's donated to in the last 10 years, saved thousands of kids from slavery. I mean, there's so many things this guy's doing. But more than that, the divisiveness, the diversive the media that pulls us apart. Like, we have this desire to bring people together, to see that we have more alike than we don't, that we all want our kids to be better off than us. We all want to live into our full potential. We all want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, that we could bring people together, that they can thrive when other people aren't. Like, it is a big purpose, and that's Tony's drive, and it rubs off on me. So at this phase of my life, I have a new why. At 56 years old, I never have to work a day in my life. I feel blessed to say that. But now I've, like, before I die, I want a couple of things. We'll talk more about it later. I want self-education to be the new normal. I want people to see that they are enough, that they know enough, and with the right guidance, they can do anything they put their mind to, right? I want to be the best father to my 4 kids. I want to be the best husband to my wife. I want to be a great teammate to all the people on my team. I want to help your listeners find a path and a plan to do something bigger. Like, I found a way to make that just as important in my life as retiring my mom.
Wow.
So I still get up at 4 o'clock. I still grind every day like I'm broke. And that's some of the stuff we'll talk about today is finding that hunger to do something more. So when the obstacles come, you don't love them, but you get through them and you keep moving forward. So you didn't really hear much about my story other than I could say is, we didn't have money. I did struggle. I did have dyslexia. I probably would have been voted the least likely to succeed in my high school.
Yeah.
Right. But with a strong enough why, and that why leads to resourcefulness, right? Not resources, because I didn't have resources, but I had resourcefulness. That resourcefulness led to the first step, led to the next step, led to the next one. And when they fail, you get back up, you're still hungry, you keep moving forward. And, that's how I'm here today.
Incredible.
I think we have the right guest.
We definitely have the right crest. One of the things that kind of struck me there is you were talking a little bit about your background. Is it sounds like you came from a lot of adversity, and one of the things that I notice a lot, especially on social media, is you do a post about a big win or something, and you look at the comment section. People are like, "Oh, easy for that guy. He probably had a rich dad or whatever." They come up with excuses. They're like, "Oh, I can't do this because I have some very strong adverse circumstances that are preventing me from doing what that guy's doing."
I may have said in my 20s or 30s, yeah, that's just somebody because they're lazy and they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
At this phase of my life, I have empathy and compassion for that person because they're letting their fear or their belief that someone else gave them be in control of their life. So it's easier to say, I could do it, but I don't have what you have. That makes your subconscious feel okay, right? So instead of me thinking like in my 20s, I might think like, just work hard like I do and just do the right thing. Now I'm like, I have more empathy for that person because they're telling themselves a story that'll keep them stuck forever. And it's one of the reasons I work so hard because I want to shift those stories. Tony's my mentor. He's the guy that I bought his course 27 years ago. He did that for me. And it's such a pleasure and privilege to do that for others. And if you could think about that, when somebody says that, say, hey man, instead of saying, no, I had trouble, I'd rather just reply. That's the person you need to reply to and say, I hear you. And I'm sorry you feel that way. But what if you shifted that story? And what if because you don't have money? What if because nobody believes in you? What if that's actually the fuel you really need? What if God gave you that life so you could actually be successful? Because if you had it too easy, you might coast. And wouldn't that feel a lot better? And wouldn't that be so not that I'm saying you don't, but I'm just saying it's just a different philosophy on how I look at it now compared to earlier on in my life.
Yeah, especially in the real estate industry, like the guys that are the most successful are typically the ones that went through the most adversity. And that's what's creating that hunger, that drive that you need when things get really challenging. You got to have that internal hunger. One of the things I've thought about a lot is I got a couple kids now and I'm doing pretty well financially. We're selling hundreds of thousands of houses and they're not going to have that same kind of adversity. And one of the things that I've been thinking about recently is like, what do you do as a parent to try to instill that in your children or even
something I thought about every day of my life. Honestly, I don't want to have really polite kids who have no hunger. That's like a biggest fear of mine. Like, oh, Dean's kids, they're really nice, but they don't do anything. Right. And not because I want the pride of having a hustler. I want them to have the pride to accomplish things. And one of the biggest things we do in our family I geeked out on books. My oldest is 18. I geeked out on books ages ago on how in European times they would hand down a farm or a company through 10 generations. And in America, I don't know if you know, they call it the G3 curse.
Yeah.
Grandma or grandpa makes it. Next generation maintains it. Third generation loses it.
Yeah. Vanderbilt's prime example.
Yeah. And what I've shared with my kids, if this helps at all, since they were little, is that we are a baton family. That dad ran the first leg of the race and I ran hard. And if you'd like to run hard and go all in, I'll hand you the baton. But I'm not handing you the baton if you don't go all in. I don't know if you guys, do you know anybody who's a trust fund kid that's happy and fulfilled?
Zero.
I know trust fund kids, and they are definitely not happy.
Yeah.
They don't have that desire. They don't have that drive.
Yeah. And I want to give my kids that ability to be hungry for something, right? And it's not easy. It's not easy to do. I didn't fly on a plane till I was 25. My kids have never flown commercial. They fly.
Completely different.
Yeah, it's just a different life. So I got to fight. Might sound like rich people problems, but I got to fight to build adversity. I got to let them fail. Sports are a great thing because you have no control of it, but you just have to bring them up in a way. And I'm not giving the best advice. I work on it every day, but I feel blessed. My daughter, my 18-year-old daughter, when she turned 16 years old, believe me, I wanted to buy her a new Range Rover and put a bow on it. That's why I worked my whole life to take care of my family. Yeah. But I knew that wouldn't be good. I had to restrain myself. So what do? We bought a 4-year-old Hyundai used, and I made her put half the down payment money on the money she earned from babysitting, right? Brutally difficult. But she cleans that car every day. She keeps it nice, right? Because she had to earn it. So you gotta set up adversity where you can. You got to challenge them where they can. One thing I think I do, I talk to my kids like they're 2 years older than they are. I have since they were little. I talk to them like adults. I let them see where life is real. And when I fail, I share it with them. When I'm stressed, I let them see it. I let them see money doesn't come easy. It didn't happen luckily. And when they say, Dad, this is so amazing. I'm like, yeah, I'm 56. I didn't have this at 26. I didn't have it at 36, right? I didn't have some of this at 46. That it takes time.
The journey is what makes you happy.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really good advice. I'm canceling my kids' trust funds. Okay, so let's fast forward and not talk just about kids, but maybe guys that are in their early 20s. There's a few people that come to mind where, like, I know these guys and they're hungry. They're like, I want to be rich, but they sleep in every day. They play video games. They're just not on their shit, and they want to be rich, but they don't have like that drive. They're not taking the steps, not taking the actions every single day. Do you think that drive is something that you just have or you don't have, or is it something that you can develop?
It's absolutely, I think it's developed by everyone. And just the fact is, are you ready to choose commitment over convenience? That's it. Like, not to oversimplify it, but to live the good way, you have to live the hard way for a while. Right? I get to say I'm blessed to buy my childhood home. I have a farm in New York. I have a house in upstate Arizona. I have the house of my dreams. I fly in a private plane. I'm 56 years old. I've been hustling every day of my life since I was 14. Time and hustle and failure and getting kicked in the teeth and what you do in the invisible when you think you're going to lose it. I know for a fact the both of you have looked in the mirror at one point or multiple times and said, I don't think I can make this. I don't know if this one's going to work out. I over leveraged myself. What if it doesn't happen? I put all my money in this thing. This deal went sideways. Interest rates went up. The economy shifted. Like, you need all of that to season a man or a woman that can actually handle that level of success. You have to pay your success tax. It's as simple as that. There's no fast path. Like, there's nothing. I wanted to buy a plane 20 years ago. Yeah. But I put my head down. I couldn't. It wasn't time. Yeah. Right? So the fact of the matter is, if you're just kind of dabbling and you want the success, let me just say it right to point. It will never find you, ever. Success will not come looking for you. And every time you think you figured it out, the universe, God, whatever your beliefs are, will test you again. You know, the fourth element, or maybe I said it, that being an industry that's growing, you need a purpose to make you hungry to keep going. The last one is the most important. You got to keep persisting until you succeed. You know, I think we have a whole generation that thinks the prize is at the beginning of the journey. I don't mean that like, look at, I'm an old guy, you young, silly people. I don't mean that, but this phone has made it look like wealth is easy, or most people are posing and pretending, and it looks like it happened overnight. It's like, I think we have a generation thinking that the prize, like I said, is at the beginning of the journey. It's at the end of the journey. And you don't know how long your journey is. And you don't know how many times you have to fail. And you don't know how many times you're going to miss partying with the guys, and you're going to miss date night. I mean, to this day, I still miss dance recitals once in a while. I still miss jujitsu. Today, right now, on my phone, if you look, my son's got jujitsu practice. He asked me to be there. This was important. So I said, I love you, kid, but I can't make this one. I got a podcast scheduled today. Still happens. I still miss stuff, but I don't miss most of it.
Yeah.
I don't miss most of it. I get to be the man that I always wished I could be. I get to be the father. It's why I'm 56 years old with a 5 and a 2-year-old. I want another shot at it.
Yeah.
You know, my older ones, I was busy. I probably missed a lot more of their childhood than I do with these little ones, right? So the fact of the matter is, listen, here's what I want to say. Just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just be honest with yourself. Know for a fact that if you want the results other people have, you're going to have to do the crap they did. If you don't want to do it, it doesn't make you a bad person. My kids might not want the crazy life I've had, right? And that's okay. My son's a straight A student. He's unlike me. I wasn't a straight A student. And I think my son's going to go to college, get a great degree. And I think my son's going to be really happy as a CFO someday, or he likes the medical field. He might end up being an anesthesiologist. That's what he's talking about now, right?
Very cool.
And he might just take that and never care if he makes $250,000 a year for the rest of his life. I think my son's going to, like, you think I'm going to look down on my son? I'm like so grateful there's humans like that in the world.
Yeah.
What would we do without guys like that? So just be honest with yourself. Just don't pretend you want to be a crazy ass entrepreneur and sleep in. I mean,
Yeah.
I can remember I partied in my 20s.
Yeah.
I did. And I was the only one who I never got up past 6 a.m. I wake up at 4 every day right now. Every day of my life, I'm up at 4 a.m. This morning, 3:58. I was out of bed. By 4:15, I was working out. But when I was in my 20s in New York, you lived on the East Coast. I like here they close the bars at 1. I mean, I haven't gone to a bar in many, many years. But I think it's sensible that they close at 12 or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do you remember the East Coast?
All night.
4 a.m.
Yeah.
4 a.m. and then everybody would go to the diner.
Sure.
So I would go out with my friends 2-3 nights a week, 4 a.m.
See sunrise.
Yeah.
I'd go to the diner. I would drive straight home. I'd shower, put on my clothes, go straight to work.
Yeah.
Never complain because I needed, and my friends would always go, you're freaking crazy, dude. We come from different side of the tracks. We didn't go to college. That was their story. I still love them. And most of them are still in the little town I grew up in. I love them dearly. I still have friends from high school. But I had a mission bigger than them. I had a mission bigger than sleep. I had a mission bigger. I had a reason why, and it drove me. So I just don't kid yourself. If you really want it, you have to do the stuff other people have done to achieve it, or you're never going to get it. Never.
Yeah.
Like never, ever, ever, never.
Yeah. It's like what you always say, delayed gratification.
All day.
There's no shortcuts.
Yeah. I mean, and the name of the podcast is obviously 11 out of 10. It's not going 9, or you say just cruising it 9.5 or 10. We're talking about going 11 all day, every day. And that's the beauty of this. People look at this and say, how can I be motivated? What can I extrapolate from little conversations from guys that go 11 out of 10, 24/7, you know?
Yeah. And it does wear off in all areas of your life. I want to be an 11 out of 10 as a dad. I want to be 11 out of 10 as a husband.
Yeah.
I want to be 11 out of 10 as a teammate to everybody who works on the team here. Right. And it's just a choice. And the cool part about it is, just in the generation that I'm from, there was no internet when I was growing up. Zero. In my 20s, there was no internet.
Yeah.
You couldn't find somebody online that was doing what I want to do. You couldn't model proven practices unless they were lucky enough if they wrote a book. There was no such thing as a podcast. The only thing on TV was the rich and the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Like that was the only thing. And the only
You go to the library too. Like that's how you get your education. You go to the library. That was the only option.
Right now, no matter what you want to do, you could use this little thing to eat up your time, to be stuck on social, to be surfing like this, or you can go find somebody who's already done what it is you want to do and model proven practices. Like, I don't think there's been a better time in history for you to start and scale and do your own thing. Ever, never, ever. You got AI that compounds what you do to allow you to go faster. This is the time to crush it. But it's also a time where people think it's easier than ever before, and it's not. It's still the same.
Yeah.
So, Dean, people look at you, they see, you know, this famous guy, well connected, the plane, the 20 acres, the beautiful wife and family, and all these blessings. What no one sees is behind the scenes and the hardships and the struggles. I'd love to get a little vulnerable with you and talk about what were some of your challenging times in life and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's got to be some every year for the whole time, right? First off, let me just say this. I believe people think when success finally comes your way, the problems go away. And here's what I'd say. Don't wish for problems to go away. Wish to get better at handling bigger problems. Let me ask you, the most money you've ever made on a deal. If you think of the top 5, I know you've done so many freaking deals.
Sure.
But think of the top money makers. I guarantee they're the most complicated.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the longest deals.
And the longest. And people going, that one can't be done. Seller's stuck on the number. It's got an easement issue. It's got a sewer issue.
Exactly right.
Think about your best deals. Would you say, without a shadow of a doubt, the bigger the problem you solved,
the bigger the reward.
The bigger the reward.
100%.
Right. So I had somebody shared something the other day. They were talking about social media. And he said, he was in he's guys in Texas, so he was equating it to oil. Yeah. He's like, if you think about how to build and grow on social media, and this guy, he was the president of the biggest YouTube channel in the world for a decade, right? So you could probably figure out who that is. But he said, if you equate it to oil, all the easy oil is gone. Because the only way to find oil is you got to frack. You got to drill sideways. It's hard now. So most people don't want to do it. Right. But if you can, all the oil is down underneath, and right. So it's the same thing. It's like, don't wish for the problems to go away. Wish to get better at handling bigger problems. You walk in a room and somebody says, this is not going to close. This can't happen. Be like, no, I got this one.
Right.
You guys go take a break. Go to lunch. I'm going to solve this. Like that's the Superman cape.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, then that sets you up to realize the problems are always going to be here. When you put yourself out there to say, I want to go from $100,000 a year, maybe 50, I want to get to 100, wherever you are, no judgment. And you want to go to $1 million a year, you think you're going to handle less crap or more crap? You think you're going to be more freaked out in the invisible when you look in the mirror and go, or less? It's more.
Yeah.
And then when you want to go to $1 million to 10, you think it's less or more? Go to 10 million to 100 million, less or more? Next level, new devil. And the devil's usually bigger and stronger, right? Yeah. So for me, I mean, I can think of every decade of being an entrepreneur, there was probably 3 to 5 things that I thought, this is the end, right? And as you get older and you have more time and information, knowledge turns to more wisdom, you realize that it's just sharpening the knife. But a lot of times I can remember thinking, this is it. There's no way I can make it through this, right? I mean, there was a time when my business was, when I was in real estate, I was flipping houses. I owned about 30 apartments. I was flipping houses. I was building houses. I was subdividing raw land, building houses, selling them. I was fixing, flipping, had apartments, had a collision shop, had a towing company, and sold cars all at the same time in my early 20s.
You were in the mafia?
Yeah, exactly. So all of that was in my 20s. And I decided, I saw Tony Robbins on an infomercial. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this guy sold me knowledge and my life will never be the same.
Wow.
I'm like, I got to be in this business. Like, I want to help people for a living. Like I felt like Tony Robbins sold me something that was in his head. It shifted my life. And I paid him $300 or $400 for it, right? I'm like, I want to be in that business. And even though I wasn't a multimillionaire, I was probably already I was probably a millionaire on net worth by then at 26, 27 years old, starting from nothing. Like, why don't I teach people how to do real estate? Or why don't I teach people how I made money with cars? I'm like, I want to do what this guy does, right? Yeah. So think about the early days. I had no clue what I was doing. You had to do an infomercial. You couldn't go online like today. It's why Tony and I co-founded mastermind.com, because we want to help people, want everybody to share what they know. Everyone listening should have a knowledge product, a course, coaching program, be a consultant, write a book, start a podcast. Everyone should, because everybody's got knowledge that's worth something to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But back then I'm like, I just want to be in this industry. And I'm a hustler. And I remember I got a second desk with a different phone for this industry. I started creating a product and had no idea what I was doing. Long story short, I met somebody out here in Arizona. And at a point I was flying back and forth out here trying to figure out how to sell an information product in an infomercial because there was no internet, right? Back then you did either direct mail or an infomercial. Right? There was no other way to reach people. So I tell this story because it's just one of many, many. So think I'm flying back and forth. I go 2 weeks hustling cars and real estate. I'd flip a house, make 15 grand or whatever it was. I'd come back here and I felt like I dumped it in an empty hole. Like the infomercial business that at the time is like, I'd put 15 grand. I'm like, oh, I can survive another 4 weeks. Right? Pay some people trying to figure it out. Cause I didn't know back then. I was just trying to figure it out. So long story short, I'm going back and forth for, I don't know if it was years, however long it was. And I'm hustling, I'm flipping houses. And I started flipping houses here and I was using that money to fund it. Right. And it looked, I mean, you could imagine friends and family like, why are you such an idiot? Just keep the money. You're making great money on flipping and real estate. Why are you putting in this thing? You're not Tony Robbins. You've never done this before. How are you going to make it? All the future. Stuff, right? All this stuff. So I'm doing, long story short, I finally get some momentum and we're starting to make sales and we're starting to impact people and people are saying thank you and we're getting letters. And, you know, that's when the internet was at its infancy and it's growing and and I hired a couple strategic people and I hired an accountant to help me run things while I wasn't there. And I hired a couple salespeople, customer service. I probably had 12 employees. Like now I'm hustling, going to 14 employees, maybe 20 employees, and we start getting momentum. And I come back from East Coast. I come here, and the accountant I hired at the time calls me in the other room and says, "Hey, we can't make payroll this week." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Things are going pretty well, because then we can't make payroll." I said, "All right, well, thank goodness we took that extra money. I didn't spend a dime of it." When I said live the hard way, I was living in a little tiny apartment here. I was driving an old Ford, I don't know, Ford Ranger or something. It was just an older car. I'm like, just hustling, put every dollar away. I don't know if it was 50 or 100 grand. Might as well have been $1 million back then. I said, "We got that reserve. We're good." He's like, "No, it's gone." I'm like, "What do you mean it's gone?" Come to find out, this guy at 50 years old, 55 years old, takes his wife's savings, never gambled a day in his life, took his wife's savings, went to the casino and lost it. She had $100,000 life savings. The guy drained my bank accounts, went to the casino, put it on red to get his wife's money back and lost mine.
Oh my God.
And I just remember.
This is your accountant?
Yeah. And I just remember, I remember just feeling just hopeless. Like I didn't have money back. I didn't have backup. I had nobody in my family with money. And then all those stories. And here's the part I want you to hear. Whether you believe in God or a success tax auditor or karma, I remember sitting on the floor of my house. I remember I had a big old cordless phone at home with the big antenna that you used to pull out. I threw it. You're too young to even remember that.
I do remember those.
I threw it so hard against the wall, it stuck in the sheetrock. And I just sat on the floor, put my hands in my head, and I'm not too proud to say I cried like a baby. And every single story that I remember thinking came back. And I remember thinking, they were right. I didn't go to college. I'm not that smart. I am the kid with dyslexia. I'm a blue collar guy. I should be fixing cars and flipping houses. What the hell did I think? I'm not Tony Robbins. All of those things came back. I remember thinking, you fool, you idiot. Why would you even try that? Now what do you do? And when you're in, here's the part, this is the lesson you need to learn from this. When you're in that state of mind, you know what opportunities you see? Nothing. It's dire. It's despair. You only see what's wrong. You beat yourself up. And I believe that is the tipping point where you go, never again. I'm just going to go back to a safe space. Or that's the moment you have to say, oh, this is part of the journey. It sucks. I hate it. I wish it never happened. And here's what I said. And it was probably because of Tony Robbins. But I remember thinking, if I can get through this, I bet you I can get through anything.
Yeah.
And I started saying it, no exaggeration. I started saying it over and over. And I started walking to the gym. By then I was probably getting up at 5 every morning. And I walked about 1.5 miles to the gym every day when I was like out of my mind. Like the stress back then, your stomach is tight. I got no money in the bank account. I can't make payroll. And I remember walking to the gym going, you know what though? I bet if I could get through this, I could get through anything. I bet if I could get through this, and I kept saying it over and over until it changed my state, until I felt goosebumps. And then all of a sudden, when my state changed, I'm like, what if I had to save this company? How would I do it? What if I had to? I'm like, I remember I went and applied for like 10 credit cards at once. So that now it wouldn't work with all the technology, but back then it was all, you filled it out and mailed it. So I applied for 10 credit cards at once and like 9 of them got approved. The day I got them, I took cash advances on all of them. I got like 150 grand. I sold the house I was living in. I didn't owe anything. I took 100% of that money, dumped it, and I went all in. I'm here, right? I'm here. And I've had many of those experiences and the more you have them, you don't like them, but you go, oh, this must mean there's another level for me and I'm getting challenged to see if I'm worthy of it.
You're at the tipping point, the brink of either moving forward.
Yeah, you're at the fork in the road.
Yeah.
You're at the fork and once you go left in the fork and give up, you're done. It's over. You never go back. You never go back.
Yeah, there's so many people that quit right before they probably would have broken through. A lot of times where I've ended up right up against the wall where it's like the whole thing is about to collapse, which all of us have been there. It's usually right after that that things really blow up. It's always right after.
Yeah, not to use a sports analogy, but I do believe most people quit on the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
You know, if it's football, they go 95 yards, they beat themselves up, they got hit 20 times, and they're like, this isn't for me. And if they could just like open the curtain and go, oh my God, it's right there. Yeah. It's right there, you know?
So I'll tell you a funny story. The first time I read your book was in 2015. I just graduated. I took a job working for a small little house flipper and I had a 3-hour commute. So every single day I was just listening to audiobooks at 2x, 6 hours a day. I read every book. I read all your books. I read all Tony's books. And it's really cool. Like 10 years later, almost exactly 10 years later, I'll be sitting down here with you. You have a similar story with Tony. You started off as a student buying a product from Tony.
Yeah.
Today, you're business partners here with him at mastermind.com. How the hell did you pull that off?
Yeah.
Tell us what that story was.
True story. 28, 29 years ago, I bought his course and it did what I said earlier. It helped shift my philosophy on life, made me realize life happened for me, not to me, that I could change my story. I could change my state of mind, all these cool things that everybody's heard Tony say, but it hit me. It was the first time I ever heard anything like that. It was my first introduction to personal development. I'm like, oh my God, this is a drug I want to stay on, right? I don't like drinking coffee because I don't want to feel hooked on anything. I never got into drugs. But I could get hooked on personal development because you just feel better. You see around corners. You find a way to go harder, faster, stronger. But the second thing, like I said, made me go in this industry, right? So I went in this industry. I remember writing in my journal, someday I want to thank them. I'm sure millions of people have said that through the years. But then about 12 years ago, a mutual friend connected us. And we were supposed to meet for a half hour. And then we both canceled meetings. It went on much, much longer. And then he invited me to his house. So about 4 days later, I flew down to Florida for an hour meeting and we spent like 11 hours together. We sat outside. We still joke about it. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we had a late night snack and we just hit it off.
Yeah.
We hit it off. His mom and my dad were like almost the same exact person. So we just found all these commonalities. And, you know, I went, the truth of the matter is, and I'm not my ego's not, too big to say this. If you would have asked me 15 years ago if you could meet anyone and thank them, it would have been Tony. It wouldn't have been a celebrity. It wouldn't have been a president. It would have been Tony just to say, thanks, man. You opened up something in me I didn't know I had. Simple as that. Not fanboying, just thank you, right? Thank you for putting yourself out there. So it was awesome to be able to spend that day with him and we just sparked a friendship. And then I realized how many people wanted to be partners with Tony. So I made a decision that I didn't want to do business with him. So we went about 5 years just building incredible friendship. And then we were on a golf course one day. I golf twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. So does he.
You and me both.
And but let me tell you something. I got to tell you a new story. I like golfing with Tony because he only plays the holes he likes.
Really?
Yeah, he played like 7 of his favorite holes. So I'll just tell you real quick. First time I golf with him, we're playing by the ocean. So he says to me, hey, so what kind of holes do you like? Like, I'm thinking, because we're going to get to him. I said, he's like, you like ocean or mountain? I'm like, ocean's good. He's like, okay. What about mountain? What about this? What about that? So I tell him, he's like, all right, let's go. And we drive right around the first one, drive past the third one. We just go to the 4th hole that's overlooking the ocean. And we played that hole. And then we drove and went to, it was I'm like, golf's a whole different thing now.
That's my kind of golf.
Just
I'm
play.
ADHD. We can't take time for 18 holes. It costs
Yeah,
too
so
much
just
time and
play
energy.
play
Give me
7, 8
5 and
holes.
6. I'm good.
Yeah, play 7 of your favorite holes.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway, so long story short, we're on a golf course, and we just had the conversation. If we were going to start a business, what would it be? Right? We had my businesses were doing great. His were doing phenomenal. So we didn't need to do a business together. So it came together that way. It came together in the greatest way it could come. I didn't need him. He didn't need me.
Yeah.
We had been friends for 5 years. We didn't need to do this. We wanted to do this. And we said, why don't we start a business to show people what we've done? Right? That the knowledge industry or self-education. Like Tony went to a Jim Rohn event. If you know anything about personal development, if you don't, look up Jim Rohn. Great old school personal development guy. Tony took his last $40, went to a Jim Rohn event, shifted his life forever, started teaching Jim Rohn principles, and then he became Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I was doing pretty well in my life, but I got Tony's course, shifted my life, changed everything. I went from doing really well in the car business in a tiny town, big fish in a little pond, to I'm blessed to touch millions of people's lives around the world, right? So we're like, why don't we show? Because it was the barrier to entry when we started was $100,000 infomercial, buying media, putting product in a warehouse. Those days are over.
Yeah.
Everybody has a life experience, a skill, or a passion that's valuable to someone else. And when you know how to package that asset, it is the greatest thing because you don't have to pay for the product. You don't have to worry about tariffs. You don't have to worry about inflation, but you impact people with your experience, right? It's beyond. So this was their conversation. Let's make self-education the new normal within 10 years. Let's make it so people don't want general knowledge anymore. They want specialized knowledge. And we had all these grandiose ideas, and hence we started mastermind.com, and we did our first big product launch of a big training to the world. At the time, it was like 300,000 people. I think it was the biggest online training anyone had ever done. Since then, our biggest one is 2.5 million people. On May 15th, we're doing our 7th one for Mastermind, and we're expecting 800,000 people for this one in over 100 countries. And who comes is people that know they're meant for more, that they're dying to do something that creates impact, creates purpose in their life, but could be a part of something that has no glass ceiling. So that's how the whole journey went. And now we're obsessed. It's become a mission. It's become a passion that we want the whole world to realize you should be selling what you know. And that's what we do over 3 days. And it's pretty magical.
Wow. Incredible. Now, spending so much time with Tony, he's in a way a mentor to you, I'm sure.
Sure is.
What do you think is like the biggest thing that you've learned over the years working with him?
A couple of things. He'll tell you it all comes down to hunger, but we already talked about that.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing successful people have in common is they found the hunger, whatever that is. Another one that's really big that I love is we're only as good as the questions we ask ourselves. So if we say to ourselves or ask the question, why does this never work for me? Then it'll never work for you. Because you ask yourself a bad question, you get a bad answer because you're lazy, because your parents were rich, or because you had a bad experience. Did you ever hear that story? It's probably made up about twins.
I'm a twin, so go ahead.
One really successful.
Yeah, I'm a twin. Twin sister.
Well, that's cool.
Non-identical.
Yeah, one really successful.
If you're going to have a podcast co-host to fill in.
Yeah, exactly. But the story about twins, and one really successful, great family, entrepreneur making lots of money. The other one in and out of jail, in and out of drugs. And they go to the one on drugs and in and out of jail and said, hey, what happened? It's like, my father, he abused me. He hit us so hard, never told us he loved us. How else could my life end up? And then they go to the successful one and say, hey, how'd you get so successful? He's like, my father used to beat us. He was an alcoholic. What other option did I have?
Right.
Right? One asked themselves questions like, how can I be successful with a dad like mine? And the other one said, how can I not be successful with a dad like mine? So it's that subtle little shift in the questions we ask ourselves, right? So if you're asking yourself, why does it never work for me? Because you're not freaking lucky, right? Tony will say it just like that, because you're not freaking lucky. How come I can never lose the weight? And Tony will say, because you're a slob and you just eat so much. Like, we ask ourselves silly questions rather than saying, hey, what else could I try to lose the weight? Who else could I model to start the business? Where else could I get money to start and launch my business, right? And I know that sounds crazy, but just watch, now that I say this, watch the questions you ask yourself Ask yourself a bad question, give yourself a bad answer. Shift the questions. So that's a big one. The other one, that the biggest impact he made on my life, I was going through a difficult time in my life. I went through a divorce in my 40s. Not an advocate of divorce, but it just happened. And I remember I was just really worried about my kids and things like that. And I remember being at Tony's house, and maybe it was just the perfect timing. And I mean, I'm 5'7", he's 6'7". It's a big difference. Like right now, there's a video out that's going viral right now as we're doing this, of him and I walking together, and it is really embarrassing.
It's Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh my God.
Talk about twins.
Oh my God. It is so bad. I look so little. I'm like, can you edit and like lift me up a little bit?
Bro, hang with me more. We'll be okay.
Yeah. But so I'm going through a rough time, and Tony's sitting across from me on the couch, and he gets up and he comes over and sits on the couch I'm on and gets right next to my face, which is like up here, a foot over my head. And he looks me in the eye and he goes, I got to ask you something. I was probably 47, 48 at the time. I don't even remember. He said, who do you want to become in your 50s? And I'm thinking, like, what does that mean? He's like, no, not what you're going to achieve. I know you're going to be successful. But who do you want to become? What kind of man do you want to be? And it just freaking hit me. It's a different way to approach who you want to be. And to me, I associate that with values and who I am. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I couldn't, like, I got done. I went home, I went to the hotel I was staying at next to his house, and I just wrote down, who do I want to become for my kids? Who do I want to become for if I ever have a future wife again? Who do I want to become for my ex-wife? How do I replace all emotions with compassion rather than anger as we end? Who do I want to become for my team? Who do I want to become for people who come to our events? And I started crafting this, and I'm like, oh my God, that's who I want to be. So therefore, what must I do to become that man? Right? And it actually led to what kind of woman I'd want in my life. And I remember writing all these things down. I'm like, well, I better be the kind of man that attracts that kind of woman. And it shifted who I was as a person. And so that's the biggest gift I ever got. And that's the question I'd ask you. If you're in your 20s, who do you want to be in the next decade of your life? Do you want to be the guy that wants more, but you're really not doing the work? Like, here's what I'd say. Everybody says they want more.
Yeah.
But you know who wins? Those that do the work in the invisible. I have a dear friend. I won't say his name. I love the guy. He's always been 20, 30 pounds overweight. And he looks amazing. Like, it fits him. You never see somebody
Yeah.
like, I couldn't imagine him smaller.
Yeah.
But every time I see the guy, he's like, this is the time. Losing the weight. Doing it this time. Go to lunch with him. Gets a freaking salad with no dressing on it and a piece of salmon on it. Every time. Never see the guy lose weight. I said to him one day, I'm like, you're so full of shit. Excuse my language. I'm like, there is something you're doing when no one's watching. And he confessed he stress eats. At night, he's good all day. He goes home at night, pounds ice cream, pounds cereal, does a thing, right? I think he looks great. As long as he's healthy, it means nothing to me. But it's kind of the same way. Like, who we are, when people say, what are your values? What do you stand for? Who we are is really the person we are when no one's watching. You say, I want to be successful, but really when no one's watching, you binge out on Netflix. You say, I never spend time online. But if you look on their phone, it's 8 hours a day.
Right.
Just going like this, right? So we have to decide, who do we want to become when no one's watching? And that's all of that I got from Tony saying, who do you want to become? So he asked me about Tony question, and I, I've taken it one step further. I think to myself, so I really did attract the love of my life, and I want to be that man that deserves her, and we have an incredible relationship. And I think to myself, if my wife, and this wasn't always the case, so please, I'm not telling you I'm holier than thou or more righteous than you. Please know I've made horrible mistakes. But I'm in a phase in my life that if Tony hired a private investigator and he followed me all week, that if Tony got the report, he'd love me more as a partner. If my wife hired a private investigator, went through every DM, every text message, film me when I'm traveling and nobody's around, she'd watch the video and go, damn, I love that man more. That my kids, if they had a video of me, they'd watch and go, I'm proud of my dad. I wasn't always in that space, but it's where I'm at now. And it's the greatest gift you could give yourself, to be the same person to everyone. Oof. Not pretending to be a hustler when you're really procrastinating. Not pretend to be faithful and be a cheater. Not pretend that you're ethical, but you do stuff on the sly. Just whatever you are, just decide to be that person. It makes life so freaking cool.
I love that.
I love that. I want to talk about some. So, it's your energy, by the way, is so magnetic.
Yeah.
I noticed both. Normally, we're chatting more and asking questions, just leaning in. I'm all about energy as well. We briefly spoke about, conversations and you having impact in person with, 800,000 people, looking people in the eye. We talk about, health and fitness all the time, and something resonated about your story when you were down and out and, getting those 9 credit cards and you're sitting on the floor crying in that vulnerable moment, but you kept moving forward. There's a visualization and you're walking to the gym. I could tell at 56 years old, you're in great shape. How, important has health been, and what is your routine with health and fitness and energy exchange with business? Talk about that a little bit, how you
Great
look
question.
good, feel good, and go from there.
Great question. How do you do all you want if you're not in good shape? Like,
You don't.
I don't know any like super successful hustlers moving and shaking that are in really bad shape, right? Because you need a certain amount of energy. You need, for a fact, if you're listening right now, when you're on a regular exercise routine, do you have more clarity?
1,000%.
Do you have more emotional conviction? Do you feel like you can attack the world? We've all slipped from routines.
Sure.
And did you ever notice when you slip, you're like, I'm not really doing good right now. Like if I can remember times where like I didn't work out for a week, I'm like, I can have pizza. I'll take
It's
the
a
ice
negative
cream.
domino effect.
It
of
is. It's
action.
a negative domino effect, which
Right.
is the complete opposite when you're in shape,
And you
right?
make better decisions.
You make better decisions.
sure.
Like the snowball can roll down either side of the hill and get bigger as it goes. You got to decide what side it rolls down. So for me, it's just a no-brainer. Like the biggest pass I gave myself in the last year is I would never miss a day of working out, right? I'm not jacked, but I'm in good shape for 56 years old. I still lift the same amount of weight. I have the same jeans size since 12th grade.
Wow.
That's
right?
impressive.
Not one bit different. I'm the same exact weight as I was 18 years old till today. Exact. 152 pounds
Wow.
for, 40 years, right? So it's not extreme. It's consistent. I eat a certain way. I exercise a certain way. I practice gratitude in a certain way, and it's just a part of my life. It's just what I do. It's just who I am. It's part of my identity. I'm a guy who wants to stay in shape. I'm a guy that my son is 16 years old and he still can't beat me in a race, but he just started beating me in tennis 2 weeks ago, and I don't think I can ever beat him again. And I played him in basketball 2 days ago, and man, he's just driving to the court. I can't stop him driving. He works out so anyway, long story short though, I just told him he beat me in basketball and tennis in a week. I'm like, unacceptable to me. Like I am going to do whatever it takes. Like I'm playing him
Start
tonight.
training.
Oh yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes, right? Because it's just a good feeling. So with that said, I just think it's a part of success. It has to be a must in your life. And what do they say? The old Indian proverb, a man with his health has 1,000 wishes. A man without his health has but one, right? It's not something, it's everything, right? So that's number one. Number two, how do I go to the gym every day? So this is the part that I think most people miss. I don't like working out. I don't love it. It's not something I enjoy. It's not. I'd rather work in the morning if you want to show. I'd rather do a little walk, meditation, little gratitude practice, and go to work. You never do stuff when you think about what you have to do. This is the little secret. If you take anything from this podcast, I hope you take a lot from this podcast, but if you take anything from this, how you do things that are uncomfortable, starting a new business, getting through when somebody robs your money, right? Investing in your first thing, coming to the event with Tony and I, launching your first course, your first mastermind, launching a podcast. You don't get through it by saying, oh man, I got to create a course and then I got to lay it out. And then who's going to buy it? And is it really valuable? You got to focus on how you're going to feel at the end. That's the only way through. So in the morning, if I don't feel like working out, I don't go, oh my God, I'm doing legs today. Legs aren't my favorite. I'm going to do squats first. And I'll superset squats with just jump squats. So I'll do squats and then jump squats. And then when I do legs, I like to do triceps. Then like, if you think about all that, like, oh, an hour of that, you know what I think about? I think my wife is the most beautiful woman on the planet, which I love to feel that way. And it's just a great feeling. I love the way my wife looks at me. I want her to keep looking at me like that. So I better stay in good shape, right? Number two is I don't have to tell my kids to work out. They see their dad work out every day of his life. My kids, when they turn 15 or 16, never said a word. Just one day, we have a home gym. One day I just looked over. They're over there working out. Like if I keep doing this, all my kids will work out. They'll make it a part of their routine and I don't have to teach them to do that. When I work out, I feel mental clarity. I feel on fire. I like when I can still lift the same weights as I did at 19 years old. It makes me feel like freaking, like I got things going on. When I work out, every day when I work out, I listen to a podcast or a book, mostly a book.
Yeah.
So I burn through a book a month while I'm working out. So I'll get a book that I'm like, I can't wait to go read the book. I wonder what that next chapter is like. So I just stack all these things on how I'm going to feel when it's done because I don't want to let my wife down. Don't want my kids to not have a good example. I want to finish that book. I want to feel good today. Let me get it done so I can focus on how I'm going to feel. Same thing with starting a business. Is it hard to go from a career to starting your own thing? Hell yes. Career, you got guardrails, you got boundaries. Someone else is paying the bills. This is on you. But building your own thing, you get to build your own dreams, not someone else's. So it's a little scary in the front. You got to focus on how it's going to feel in a year from now or 3 years from now when you're in control of your decisions, you're doing your own thing, you're impacting lives, and you're cashing big checks.
Great advice. Really great advice. I got to ask you about something because you talk to a lot of business owners that are very successful. We do too. You're dealing with real estate investors all the time. I'm dealing with real estate wholesalers. Over time, you see patterns emerging. One of the things that I've seen over and over again is guys scale up. They're scaling. Eventually, they plateau. And some of them even fall into a trap, upper limiting. You talk about that a lot, and even blow the whole thing up. What advice do you have for people that are getting stuck or upper limiting themselves? How do you break through that?
Well, there's a couple things. First, you have to identify, and don't lie to yourself, are you a lifestyle entrepreneur or an accomplishment-based entrepreneur? You got to label yourself one or the other. The worst thing you could do is really be a lifestyle entrepreneur and pretend you're an accomplishment-based entrepreneur. The difference is this. There's some people who just want to make a certain amount of money. I want to net $1 million a year or $100,000 a year, whatever the number is. So say I want to net $1 million a year so I can live this lifestyle. But you're pretending to be an entrepreneur, accomplishment-based entrepreneur. You want to take it forever. If I do $1 million, I want 10, I want 50, I want 100. And when you get to that limit, your hunger goes away because you actually hit your goal. So you're making $1 million a year, you get the golf club, golf membership, and you buy the house in the area that you want, and you can travel into Europe in the summer, and you let your wife or your husband quit their job. Like you reached your goals, and then you're pretending you got the hunger to keep going, but you really don't. Remember what we said? How do you keep growing? You got to keep the hunger, right? Mm-hmm. So first, if you're a lifestyle entrepreneur, just recognize it and be cool with it and say, this is my goal. Once I get there, I'm gonna do everything in my power to maintain it. Right? And then you don't feel like, I'm not growing. No, I'm not growing because I don't want to grow. I just want to keep this.
Yeah.
On the other side is accomplishment-based entrepreneurs, which I'm more of. I don't think there's ever, if I climb a mountain, I want to climb the next one. That's just who I am. If I climb Mount Everest, then I might have to go to Mars to find a taller mountain because I want to climb a mountain bigger, right? With that, you realize that what got you out of Egypt doesn't take you to the promised land. The same strategies that get you to 1 million don't take you to 10. The same thought process that from 10 doesn't take you to 50. Same strategies and tactics you use to get to 50 will not take you to 100 million. You have to evolve. You have to grow. And what I'll say where most people fail when it comes to learning leadership. Most rugged individualists and entrepreneurs can take the business and you'll hear them say, I wish I had twins. I wish I had 36 hours in a day. That just means you haven't evolved to understand true leadership. True leadership is not project management. True leadership is not just being able to close the deal. True leadership is understanding the human condition and how to bring people in that have the qualities and the skills and then meet them where they are so they get on the bus, they row as hard as you do, and they're rowing in the same direction. That's where most people fail. I'm still working every day of my life to be a better leader, but that's how I've grown businesses bigger.
Incredible. Now, if we circle back, you've done a lot of real estate as well. I really wanted to focus on mindset today because you and Tony are like the king of teaching entrepreneurial mindset and fixing people's minds. If you don't fix your mind, nothing matters. You've made it through some ups and downs. You were in the market back 2008 crisis. I'm sure that was a crazy ride. What advice?
It was my best 3-year run.
Best 3-year run.
I bought 1,000 houses.
Okay. Can you touch on that right now? And then what advice do you have for people in the real estate industry right now. Is now a good time to be in it? Is it a bad time to be in it?
So I'll just make it really quick. In 2007, if you're not old enough to know, it was nothing like it is now. I mean, if you drove down every street in America, every third house was for sale. Every sixth house had that sign above the for sale. You remember what it said?
Bank owned.
Bank owned or foreclosure.
Yeah.
Bingo. Right? I mean, the market went from hero to zero overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Banks stopped lending money. Banks were going bankrupt. Government was bailing big business out I mean, it was a catastrophe. And I was in the real estate education space. And what I realized at the time is same things I shared today. Got to be hungry. Hunger creates innovation. You got to have the right mindset. Remember when I said when the accountant took my money, it could have been, you fool, you idiot. Why would you do this? To find out a solution. Because if you can figure out a solution when everybody's sitting on their hands stressing, you win. So in the down market, I flipped to wholesaling. Now you have a business in helping wholesaling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this to be a jerk. I made wholesaling popular. I wrote a book called Be a Real Estate Millionaire about wholesaling that sold 1 million copies.
Read it back in 2015.
Yeah. Sold 1 million copies of that book and made wholesaling popular. If you ask any Pace Morby or Cody or any of them, they're like, that book, right?
That was the one.
I feel blessed that I was able to do that. But I want to tell you, in 2017, there was Carlton Sheets, there was Dynatech, there was all these other people teaching real estate education. They didn't shift their strategy. They went out of business. They were gone. By 2009, there was nobody else in real estate education but me. I went from a $10 million company to a $100 million company because there was nobody left. And the only thing I did is I met people where they were. So what I shifted to is instead of, I told people, you're not going to get rich right now as the market was shifting. Because it was so, if you remember how bad it was, it was so bad. I said, don't think you're going to get rich. Don't fix and flip, because if you buy a house, fix it for 6 months, it's going to be worth less than what you paid for it, and put in it, hands down. It's days on market are going from 30 to 60 to 90 to 120. I mean, days on market are screaming up, values are going down, and people are still teaching fix and flip. I'm like, no, don't fix and flip. And I said, but who is still buying in a down market? Who still buys in a down market? I said, landlords.
Yeah.
Right. So because I got myself in the right space, I could have freaked out. Probably did. I'm not going to say I didn't. Then I got in that space of innovation, creativity.
Recognized you hidden in the corner with me at the gym a couple of days. I was buying too, just like you, silently, wondering, when are we going to bottom out?
Yeah. So what I did is I shifted the strategies for my students and said, don't try to get rich. Don't fix and flip. Go make a list of people that own more than 3 houses, 3 single family homes. Go find landlords, not the big institutional buyers. I'm talking the mom and pop 3, 15, 12 houses, and go find them deals cheaper than they've ever bought. And that's where the wholesaling came. I didn't even call it wholesaling. I said, go find them deals, bird dog them, lock them up on contract, hand them over. And all of a sudden, we had thousands of people just making $1,000 on a deal, $1,800, and just killing it, handing off houses to landlords. But guess what? When the market shifted, they were already out front. They had already built confidence. They already built brand. They already built buyers and sellers. And when the market shifted, my students just exploded. So my book exploded, my education exploded. And while that was down, my education business grew so much, I took all the profits from the education business and I bought 1,000 houses.
Wow. Do you still own those today?
No, I flipped them about 2 years ago.
Wow. To hedge funds, or who'd you sell to?
No, I broke them up in 5s and 10s and 20s.
And all over the U.S.? Or?
No, the Quad Cities, Iowa and Illinois, all in 2 towns.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
So now where are you deploying money today? What are you investing that capital in? Did you 1031 exchange into other stuff, or what is your investment strategy currently? Right
now, I spent last year, 2024, I went heavy on commercial.
Okay.
Bought some Buffalo Wild Wings and grocery stores and FedEx buildings and things that were national leases, just because I had never done that. And I had a dear friend who'd been doing it for 25 years. Just like if I was going to invest in, I would get up with you, know everything about your lane.
Sure.
This guy knew everything about that lane. So I bought a significant amount of those, and I just did it for 1 year, went all in for a year. And now it's a part of my portfolio. This year, big on investing back into our company mastermind. We built the place for people that want to be creators. There's nothing like what we created. We created the technology. We created the AI that thinks like Tony and I. We created the education. If someone wants to learn how to sell what they know, do what Tony and I have done, do what you guys are doing right now. There's no better place in the world than Mastermind. And that's why we do that free event once a year to show people that they should be working with us at Mastermind. So yeah, big investment in our own stuff. And we're heading towards being the biggest in the space, which is pretty darn cool because we get to impact lives for a living. And I'd love to invite everybody who's watching right now. The event we're talking about is called Thrive in 2025. It's happening May 15th, 16th, and 17th. If you're still watching, that means you must be there. It's not kind of free. It's totally free. It only happens once a year. And I got a link. Write this down. Thrive320.com. Thrive320.com. That link will get you in for free. But last thing I'll say is a lot of times in life, we don't value what's free.
Yeah.
We just don't. This is myself, Tony Robbins. I got Matthew McConaughey coming, Jay Shetty coming, Gary Brecka coming, some amazing people all hell-bent on helping you go further, faster, how to enter in this industry. At any other world, you'd pay money to go to an event like this.
Yeah.
Any of those speakers are 100, 200 grand just to get them to speak, right? So
Yeah.
just because it's free, don't discredit it. Pretend I charged you $1,000. Put in your head you paid $1,000 for a ticket. Go reserve it, and we'll see you on the 15th.
Absolutely incredible. I just reserved one. I upgraded to the VIP.
Nice.
Like,
it's $1. It's $1. You baller.
Balling out. I'm like, VIP $1? Yes, please.
And we donate that $1 to Feeding America.
Amazing.
Just so you know.
I saw you guys. It's the Thanksgiving. Is it the Thanksgiving thing that Tony does where he gives away?
He's done 1 billion meals, which is insane over the last decade. So we just contribute to that. Mastermind, we're probably at 30 million meals. This year we'll donate another 5 million meals because we think, some people want to take their life to the next level. Other people just want a meal. So if we could do both, how freaking cool.
Of course.
Absolutely incredible.
I have a question. So, hypothetically, I'm out. I see your mom at a cafe. She's sitting in the corner reading the newspaper. I say, Mrs. Graziosi, I had the pleasure of meeting your son. Tell me about your son. What does your mom say about you today? What is, she talk about you as a...
It's so funny. I just saw my mom over Easter, and I brought my wife and my in-laws, and my mom lives in Virginia, so my in-laws only get to see each other once a year.
Yeah.
And it's funny. My in-laws asked my wife that, or my mom that right in front of me. Swear to God, same exact question. And my mom said, he just never took no as an answer, not even as a little kid. He was relentless. Mm-hmm. She goes, when he learned to drive, learned to do anything, when he was making money selling bubble gum in 7th grade, he just never took no for an answer. So I think that's what she would say.
I love that. There's something, so gratifying. It's not the dollars in the bank account. For me, it's like when my mom called me the other day and reads an article or whatever. Honey, I'm so proud of you. Like, I love you.
My mom just told me this morning she's proud.
I was just illuminated by that. So I was just curious what she would say about you.
Yeah, she's a proud mama.
Yeah, it's the best.
She makes me feel great. Yeah.
I got one last question before we wrap things up. You've had tremendous success, achieved so many things throughout your life. When you're young, when you're 12 years old, you probably never imagined you'd be at the level that you are today, where your kids have never flown on a commercial jet. They're flying private their entire life. If you had a time machine, you could go back and talk to your 12-year-old self for a couple of minutes. What would you tell him?
That you're going to be okay. Probably that. I get emotional thinking about it. At 12 years old, that was a difficult couple of years of my life. That you're going to be okay. And I don't know if I would say much more because I'd be afraid that I'd alter the course of history.
Yeah.
But I would say, hey, kid, things are going to be okay in your life. You just keep staying on the path.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be it.
Your answer is the same as mine. Actually, the first time I answered that question, someone asked me that on a podcast once, and I said, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
It'll work out. Then actually, I thought about it more, and then I changed my answer. I said, I probably wouldn't say anything because maybe if I knew it was okay, maybe I'd lose the drive, like going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, great answer. Dean,
I got one more for you. So you accomplished so many different things. Obviously, another zero in the bank account has no impact on your life. What are a couple bucket list items that you're hoping to achieve, for the rest of your life, God willing, in another 100+ years?
Yeah. I'd be happy with 40 good ones. I mean, if I'm being really honest, what fills in my heart is that when I take my last breath, I know that I gave everything I could to allow my kids to be fulfilled and contribute to society, to be good humans on this planet. and know that they have the tools to live into their full potential. To leave my wife knowing that I loved her as deep and as hard as I possibly could, just one woman since the day I met her. And business-wise is to make self-education the new normal. Honestly, that it's not a hook or a tagline.
Yeah.
I think I'm just saying the way I feel. It's controversial to some. I think colleges have let down a whole society. I think they have grown in a linear fashion when the world is growing exponentially. Half the colleges are just hedge funds that happen to support some people. They haven't changed what they do, how they do it. Their prices have gone up exponentially where their results have gone down. It's crap. It's crap. So I think it's a waste of time in certain areas, not all, but in certain areas, I think school's a waste of a time getting too much general knowledge when we live in a world where we can get specific, specialized knowledge. Would you hire someone who went to school for 7 years of marketing or someone who spent 1 year learning direct response marketing to promote your podcast? Who would you hire?
The 1 year. Practical.
Specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
And I want to help make that the new norm. And I hope the byproduct, and Tony feels the same way, that we make such a dent in the universities that they just step up their game. And if we do, then everybody wins.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I love that. It's beautiful.
Love it. Dean, it's been an absolute pleasure having the opportunity to sit down with you and chat in person. I still remember being, I don't know, I was 22 at the time, stuck in traffic for hours and hours and hours, but very similar to the way that, you plug in a podcast when you're working out, you don't like working out. I remember just listening to your books, and it's so cool to sit down with you.
Well, awesome. This is a great interview.
And actually have a conversation and meet you in person. Very, very cool. Thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for this event that you guys have coming up. Absolutely huge, guys. It's completely free. Dean and Tony are giving it out for free. If you upgrade to the VIP, it's $1.
And we'll tell you.
For the dollar, you can sit next to him virtually.
I'll be there. I'm blocking it off on my calendar.
Awesome. It's going to be an amazing event.
I think the most important thing that any of us can invest in, a lot of people watching this, a lot of our audience, they're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in payroll and marketing and all these different things. But a lot of us forget to invest in ourselves. So block off the time on your calendar. We are going to put the dates in the link down in the description. Make sure to be there. It's going to be life-changing. I can't wait. Dean, thank you so much. It's been an honor to meet you in person and spend some time with you.
Virtual fist pump.
There you go.